Massalia, one of Rome's longest standing allies, has betrayed them, and now a battle of the century is about to be had. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Total War Rome 2. Today we are diving right back in with another online battle as the forces of Massalia go up against an alliance between Rome and Armenia. And I'm really excited to have Armenia being played in this online battle because, yeah, they're just a really cool faction. A faction you don't really get to see too often on the battlefield. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what they can do. They obviously have a lot of strong, heavy infantry supported by really good cavalry. So they're a very solid faction, especially in Divided Impera, which this is not. But in Divided Impera, they do take some names. They are brutal. So we'll have to see if they can live up to that, you know, grand intro I gave them in this battle. So yes, we have two Massalian factions on this left hand side, and then obviously the Romans and Armenians. For the majority of the Massalian forces, we can see that they do have some Tarentine cavalry. So Massalia are definitely one of those factions, one of those really interesting factions that are a hybrid. They have a mix between Hellenic and also Gallic infantry and missiles and cavalry. So they kind of have, you know, that very Galatian kingdom feel to them. A very solid faction indeed. And they're going to be obviously using their Greek Hellenic side with these Thorax swordsmen, some of the best swords in the game, supported by Peltis. But then they also have some of these kind of lighter infantry that we're going to see obviously on the other flank, kind of lighter Gallic infantry that can definitely go around and be kind of act as more of that shock infantry around the sides of the battlefield. They also have some hoplites on the front line, and then over on this other side you're going to see these mercenary Gallic hunters and also some of these cheaper tribal levy freemen as well, as they just push around that flank looking to get into position, and some more citizen cavalry. However, for the Armenian and Roman side of things, we are going to have some of this noble blood cavalry, scary stuff indeed. Would not like to get stuck in to combat with them. We also have some noble horse archers. Armenia obviously going to be very deadly when it does come to that cavalry department. You know, obviously having kind of the best of the East has to offer. Rome also has brought up some of these Scutari Equitae Extraordinarii, unit that I've actually never ever seen before. I'm not sure where the hell this unit is from, if it's from a DLC or something, but I've actually never seen like a Lancer cavalry for Rome. Have I just not played Vanilla Rome 2 in this long? Where the hell is this unit from? Let me know in the comments down below. Then for the rest of the Roman force, we're obviously going to have the traditional legionary cohorts on the front line, just advancing forward. Behind that, we also have some of the elite Persian archers, so a very long-range missile. We then have Eastern spearmen. We saw some of the other Armenian infantry. We also have the Armenian noble spearmen as well. And again, the Armenians do have kind of that Greek Hellenic influence in on their roster to an extent. It's a little lesser extent than, say, the other factions that kind of are more of a hybrid, but still strong nonetheless. And then we also have these axemen, which are really the heavy-hitting forces of the Armenian army. So let's get this battle started, and by the looks of it, it seems like we've already got a cavalry engagement as the Massalian cavalry is actually engaging the Armenians, and that has not gone well for them whatsoever. However, the Romans have outflanked them, coming around the side and pouncing on this retreating cavalry unit. The Massalians have shifted all of their horses over, and oh my god, look at this cavalry engagement. Both sides are lobbing everything they have and committing to this fight, and honestly, even though the Massalian cavalry should be weaker, they definitely have the numbers at this point, and they're going to arrive a lot quicker. And not only that, they can get infantry to this fight a lot quicker because, as you can see, the Roman battle line is so far away from this cavalry engagement. So not only is Massalia, you know, peaked into this cavalry engagement a lot quicker before the Romans have, it seems like they've also got the ability to reinforce this with not only missiles, but also with infantry. You can see a unit of the Levy Freemen quickly maneuvering over here. You've also got a Furious Swordsman unit. The Tarentine Cavalry is using their skirmishing capabilities really effectively. And this could be catastrophic for the Roman side of things. Because if they lose all their cavalry in this fight, it's going to be pretty deadly. And you can see their horses are quickly trying to get over here, but it's just a little bit too late. A really nice charge there on the armored horse archers. And yeah, this is a nice move by Massalia. They managed to segregate the enemy position. Honestly, if I was Rome right now, what I'd probably end up doing is I'd probably try and focus down these archers, knowing that this fight is probably lost. They are still taking out some of the Massalian cavalry, obviously that noble blood horse from the Armenians doing the work. But they're just so outnumbered in this fight. They really, really are. And you can see the Armenian cavalry starting to dwindle as more and more of the Massalians do arrive. And right now, I think this would be a perfect opportunity to take out 3 units of the missiles for the Massalians if the Romans can get in on them. They seem like they sent some Armenian cavalry off onto fight off the Tarentines, but the Tarentines are obviously really effective, and they're actually going to turn the tide onto the horses right here as the horse archers do come in. And honestly, the Tarentine cavalry should just get stuck in here. They'll be able to slaughter this horse archer cab pretty effectively. And I mean, what an absolute ruckus going on right now. Yes, I said it. I said ruckus. You can see the Armenians are turning up now with their awesome diamond wedge formation, and it's going to be pretty effective against some of these loosely formed, damaged Tarentine horse from Massalia, but I honestly just don't think it's enough. With all the infantry piling in now, the Romans and the Armenians are just being sent back to whence they came. Without too much fight left in them. I mean, obviously the Romans are committing everything, and I mean, as well as that, both sides are trading very effectively. I just feel like the Romans obviously spent, like, and especially Armenia spent a lot more on that heavy cavalry, and they've kind of had their cavalry taken away from them in this fight, with the missiles and also the infantry being able to commit to this fight. And the Roman battle line is still so far away from the fight, which is going to be proving pretty dangerous for them. You can see that cavalry did get sent back behind enemy lines of horse archers being defeated. And even with the legionary cavalry now being advanced, it's just this ability to quickly reinforce these heavy engagements with infantry that definitely turns the tide in a lot of these field battles. That's why generally you want to always try your best to have the cavalry engagements on your flanks rather than on the enemy flank. Because imagine if this was a central engagement right here, and how quickly both sides would be able to commit. But because the cavalry engagement is all the way down on this left-hand side, it's like, you know, it takes 2 seconds to get the Massalian infantry over there, but Rome just can't reinforce with anything whatsoever. And that's really catastrophic, because if you can get some infantry to a fight, that really turns the tide of the battle. I'm saying that though, but it seems like the cavalry is actually evened up after everything that Massalia did. It seems like the fight itself is still very even when it comes to cavalry. You know, they have some Tarentine horse on this left-hand side, and Massalia has lost a large amount of their cavalry, so we've got to hope that they're definitely traded efficiently when it comes to spending money, and that their infantry is going to run through the Roman battle line, because yeah, both sides have lost a lot of cavalry. Definitely Massalia came out on top, and we'll have to see if that's going to kind of, you know, benefit them in this melee engagement. Because say for example the infantry engaged and then the cavalry from Armenia came round and hit them in the flanks, that could have been extremely painful for them because of the money difference. I imagine that these units of horse, you know, the noble blood cavalry are not cheap. You know, from my memory, you know, the Tarentine cavalry is around about 700, whereas these guys will be like 1200. So there is a big difference when it comes to this horse and the cost effectiveness in the battles. So not only that, the interesting thing that has happened is that these players have like disrupted their battle line quite a lot. You know, the Massalians have got some exhausted men, or at least some tired men on the flanks. You know, you've got some infantry here that are pretty tired. The cavalry will be active and eager, and you know, some will be a bit tired. But now we're going to have to see how this battle does play out now that that kind of initial skirmish phase has finished. One of the battles as well I would love to get a battle replay is more like, you know, reinforcement battles would be really cool, where, you know, there's an army, maybe it's a 3v2 and one of the armies is off on the distance. I think that'd be really, really cool for a battle replay, and they're not allowed to join the battle until like a couple minutes into it. More ambush battles would be very cool, fort battles, custom maps. All of that lovely stuff would be amazing, and I really do appreciate all the replays that I have gotten recently. It's definitely made for some very interesting content, and if you guys have any cool battles, send them in to me over on my Discord. If you want to join some of these battles, you know, just make sure you hit up the guys who are constantly in these replays. I'm sure they're always looking for more people. They're generally in my battle replay section, you know, on my Discord, so just always drop them a message, be like, hey, I'd love to play in the next match, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have more people in a battle. So right now, as you can see, the archers somehow, I don't really know what the Armenian player is doing, but he has committed his archers so far forward. I don't really know what's going on here, but this seems like a very, very, very amateur move, because right now he's exchanging his archers with these peltists. I mean, again, this isn't technically awful because you're exchanging your archers, who, don't get me wrong, are probably pretty expensive. These are elite Persian archers, but you're wasting all this peltist ammunition, which the Romans obviously do not want on their units. Their main strength in this battle is going to be these armored legionaries advancing forward. So kind of using up the peltist ammunition on your archers isn't bad, because in Rome 2, unless they're like Cretan archers, you tend not to really spend your ammunition too wisely. You end up really exchanging it with the enemy missiles, and that's about it. And unless you get around the flank, it's honestly not too bad. So to take up this peltist ammunition is actually half decent. It's obviously not something I would do, but it's not the end of the world to lose that, because then it just means that these peltists can't do as much damage to that infantry line. We also have a very cool flank from the Armenian player right here, and he's got his infantry set up and supported by some cavalry, which is going to really help him out. Does also seem like we have some infantry just kind of roaming around, trying to catch these peltists where they can as the missiles advance forward here. I don't really know what's going on here. They're getting extremely close, trying to scare off the peltists. Maybe they're out of ammunition? I can't imagine that they are, though. Yeah, it seems like the archers are just being absolutely wasted right now. But, you know, maybe it's not the end of the world. We'll have to see how that does play out as the missiles do just advance forward. And they're using this time as they scream with their missiles. For some reason, as they scream with these missiles, who I guess are just sacrificial lambs, we are trying to utilize this with a flanking position, trying to just get basically the rest of their forces in position. And I guess that did buy them that much time so that they could get that, you know, these flanking units into position. And right now we have a huge push by the cavalry charging in now. The cavalry is going to be going in for an all or nothing play, and this is what Armenia needs to do. They need to just dive in with their cavalry, their elite cavalry, and you can see this horse is being very effective, you know, almost instantaneously ripping through the citizen cavalry, and they can quite quickly turn around and instantly going after this Tarentine cavalry and getting a very nice charge off once again. So the cavalry fight will be looking pretty good for Armenia, and this time they have the infantry to back them up. The Eastern Spearmen are cheap, but they can get stuck in very effectively, and if they can support this cavalry fight, which it looks like they're kind of doing here, and that's going to go ahead and work wonders for them. That really is, because I don't think Massalia are really going to have the ability to reinforce any of their flanks. You know, their front line is going to be fully engaged, especially because Armenia is moving all the way around this flank as well to put pressure on them. So yeah, I don't think they're really going to have any ability to really get stuck in. It's also great to see as well the Roman player just stopping a couple inches or a couple meters away from the enemy Massalian battle line. Because obviously you want to be using that Pila as effectively as possible. You want to be, you know, throwing off as many of these javelins as you can before the battle does kick off. And we can go back onto normal speed whilst we watch this. You know, because these will do so much damage to the front line of Massalia if these Pilas ever throw. Doesn't seem like they want to. They're going to receive that volley instead and then be given the order to charge in. And here we go. The Roman battle line is going to kick off, pushing against the Hoplites, which honestly shouldn't really take too much problem. There you go, the Romans just clashing. That was kind of an underwhelming charge right there. But nonetheless, they are now going in against the phalanx in this brutal fight for survival. You can see cavalry moving around them flanks. The ring has a run legatus there with the support of the Armenians. And as you can see, they definitely have the advantage when it comes to numbers. Even with the missile being supported over here. Oh, that's a brutal volley there from the Axemen. If the Axemen are going to slaughter these Furious Swordsmen. They really are. These Axemen are very good. That's going to be dangerous. Massalia are going to be up against it. They really are in this battle, especially with all the Armenian cavalry coming in. It seems like these Blood Rider horses have got onto the Massalian cavalry. And even after like that dangerous fight and losing a large amount of their cavalry, I think the Armenians and the Romans are going to be very well, you know, kind of set up to win this battle. They really are. The front line is going to be kind of like a slogging match of just both sides hitting each other. But the real thing is stuff like this. The cavalry who have run amok in the back line and have killed one of the, what I assume is one of the Massalian generals and soon to be the other one. They've got cavalry running through a lot of these missiles with what remains of the Armenian archers sticking up there. You've got this flank really popping off. The Eastern Spearmen aren't going to win, but I only imagine that these Axemen are going to tear through the Thorax Swordsmen, especially with this cavalry and this flank. You know, this is kind of what the flank is trying to do. We do have a nice little move right here by the Pelters.
Peltists, though, they're going to try and get themselves through this gap, this huge gaping hole that the, that the Armenians have left. And they're going to throw right into the back of these Axemen, which might support their men here. You can see morale-wise, the Thorax Swordsmen are definitely losing this fight, but maybe these Peltists can help out. You've got the cavalry as well being a little bit scared, but look at that flank has just crumbled, and now the Peltists are having to be thrown in. Luckily for the Greek and Hellenic factions, you don't really have to worry too much. Your Peltists can do pretty decent in melee combat, and that's exactly what we're seeing. But if we take a look at the overall battlefield, you can see that the flanks are just being crushed and caved in by the sides of this faction, with cavalry rear charging into the back of these phalanxes, looking for big breaks, because realistically, once this line starts to break and the Romans can thrust through with their front line, it's not going to be good with them. They're also obviously using this cavalry to go in. However, the Roman general is going into the abyss, charging some Peltists and losing several men on that charge. Luckily, he's now engaged them, and that should quite quickly spell the end for the rest of that front line. But even still, the cavalry is still being run down by a unit of these hoplites and also a unit of Massalian cavalry. But as you can see, units are starting to break. That rear charge into the Thorax Swordsman is painful. The hoplites are trying to reform, and the Armenians are coming in. The general is up here now, pushing in and getting that nice little envelopment. And I think, yeah, you're going to start to see a lot of this Massalian line break, especially the Massalian faction that has lost their general. It's going to be pretty painful, and if they lose this general as well, oh, I think it's going to be all over for them. They get another perfect charge throw onto these cartel axemen and sending them back. But again, the general is going to lose a lot of men as he tries to pull out of this fight. And he might even break, which I think would just spell the end. As you can see, the front line looking pretty dangerous. However, the Romans are dropping men very quickly. A lot of their front lines are down to a third strength. So these hoplites are definitely proving their worth from the front. And this is going to be one hell of a close battle, I think. With Massalian general going in, getting a perfect charge. Trying just to break anything they can. I honestly don't know who's going to win this battle. It seems like the Massalians are holding firm that front line, really repelling the Roman legionaries. However, they're also breaking elsewhere. And there you go, the Massalian general's broken there. The Roman legatus is now engaged. I imagine he's probably down at this point, having his unit being taken down. But we also have a unit of Eastern Spearmen coming in now, trying to turn the tide of battle. The Armenians are coming around. It seems like the Romans have got a perfect envelopment on the hoplite. However, these Argus Triarii, not the best offensive units to really be doing this, but they're just trying to break the hoplite wall as best as they can. Massalia are quickly reinforcing with everything they have, trying to prevent that, trying to cause breaks of their own against the enemy so they can reform this. You can see the Peltists have positioned themselves ready to repel this and stop any more envelopments to come out. And as you can see, there's like these pockets of resistance scattered throughout the battlefield, as both sides just try and stop the envelopment. It seems like all cavalry has now been sent away, besides this brave Massalian general who has 12 men left remaining. And honestly, I have no idea who's going to win this. The Romans are trying to run to meet up with the rest of their units, the rest of the Armenians. However, Massalia is hot on their tail, and they're going to get stuck in once again with these Romans. So as you can see, there are plenty of pockets which, you know, if any side really starts to win, I think it's going to just completely turn in their favor, because one can quite quickly reinforce and outmaneuver the enemy. Rear charges are going to be so important at this point in the battlefield and this point in the battle, because neither side really has decent morale. Both sides are exhausted. Their men are severely depleted. And as you can see, the legionaries are just breaking everywhere. Armenia, though, are rushing as fast as they can, and it seems like the Romans are going to get beaten unless something big can happen. Man, what an intense ending that battle was. That was very, very crazy. And I think the Armenians and the Romans are going to lose this one. They just don't really have a lot left, and the Massalians are very much breaking around the flanks. Yeah, you can see they've definitely won this kind of point, and now they can utilize these numbers very effectively, and they can just kind of come in the rear. Obviously, trying to kill the Armenian general is going to be pretty important. And I think that's going to be GG right there. However, you never know. But I just think, obviously,
fighting these hoplites from the front are not going to break them, and it doesn't seem like Rome really has much in the way of, breaking them. You can see the Romans trying to fall back, trying to stop this envelopment from happening. However, it's just going to be a little bit too late, and that Roman front line just couldn't come through fast enough. They were obviously severely depleted against the hoplite wall, and the Armenians, as fast as they were wrapping up that flank very quickly. They just couldn't break it, quick enough. The cavalry was very intense, and this battle definitely went back and forth on who I thought was going to win. After that cavalry fight, Massalia really did do a lot of damage, but Armenia still had a lot of cavalry left, and they continued to come around. Imagine what would have happened if the Romans and Armenians waited to push that cavalry flank until their infantry were around. I think it would have been a completely different story. But I definitely do enjoy every so often seeing cool skirmish phases and stuff, rather than just a headlong charge. It makes the battles a bit more interesting. What we are seeing before, imagine Hop being outflanked by hoplites in 2020, eh? The Romans don't stand a chance, unfortunately. They have risen the banner up as high as possible, but the mosh pits are going to bring them down. And yeah, as soon as the Armenian general dies, I think that is going to be GG for them, and GG for this battle. There's still a very, very intense one indeed. Yeah, the Romans are breaking. Alongside them, so are the Armenians. Still a very, very cool battle nonetheless, and GG to all the players. So let's just go ahead and skip ahead to the end of the battle, and we will see, kill-wise, if anyone really racked up a ton of casualties in this one. So starting off, we do have the Monkey Man with, his cavalry got slaughtered, but his infantry and his pelters did so good, but he didn't really need the cavalry. Yeah, both sides, their cavalry really did not perform, but as they managed to bog down the Roman and Armenian cavalry, so that was enough. Look at that. The Noble Blood Cavalry, 276 kills on that unit is absolutely insane. And some really good kills on the Armored Legionaries as well, but just not enough to really break through the lines, unfortunately. So it does seem like Massalia have won the day and time to pillage Rome, I would imagine. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, drop a like and a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, as I upload every single day. Make sure to hit that bell notification, and I'll see you guys in the next one.